Hello all, welcome to Shell Scripting for DevOps Engineers. This is lecture 2. In this lecture 2, we are going to learn some of the core concepts that are available in the shell scripting. Particularly, this video will be focusing on 5 important concepts. Firstly, we will be talking about variables and how to declare a variable inside a shell scripting file and what are the different types of variables that we are having. Along with this, we are also going to talk about statements, the different types of statements that we can have in a shell script file. Followed by that, we'll be seeing the operators, the types of operators, and how we can work with operators in the shell scripting file. Along with these three, we are also going to learn about a concept called command line arguments, followed by functions. These are the 5 concepts that we are going to learn as a part of lecture 2. So currently, I have already connected to the EC2 instance, which we have launched in the previous lecture. The same Amazon Linux 2 instance I have connected, and we have worked with the same instance in the previous session itself. So if you want to delete everything that is available, we have a command rm space -rf star. When you do this, whatever the files that we have created previously, all those files will get deleted. So you can see I am doing ls, there are no files that are available. And to PWD, currently I am there in /home/EC2 user path, and currently I am the EC2 user. So this is the basic thing that we are going to see it here. So firstly, let us learn about what is meant by variables. What is meant by variables and why we need to work with variables in shell scripting file. So variable is something which are used to store data in a key value format. So what is a variable? Variable is used to store data in key value format. So what does it mean by key value format? Key value format. So typically, let's say I am going to use name. I'm going to use name. So my name is Kastro. And let's say age, my age, I'll give it as 30. Gender, I'll give it as male. I'll give it as a male. So here, key is name, value is Castro. Key is age, value is 30. Key is gender, value is a male. So this is called as key value format. This is called as a key value format. So variable is used to store the data in a key value format. Key value format. So typically variables act as they act as placeholders. They act as placeholders for values that can be used throughout the script. That can be used throughout the script. So here variable is used to store the value that can be used throughout the script that we are going to write. And here variables does not require variables does not require explicit data type declarations. Variables does not require explicit data type declarations. Now what does it mean by data type declarations? What does it mean by data type declarations? So here, let's say we have different data types in different programming languages. Let's say we have the data types as a string, integers. Like these, we have different data types. So here in shell scripting, we don't have to explicitly mention about whether it is a string, whether it is an integer, whether it is a number. We don't have to mention that one. So a variable can store any type of value. So it can be a string, it can be a number, it can be an integer, or it can be any other values. And if you want to access variables, how we can access a variable which is declared in the shell scripting file, So here what we will do is we will use a dollar symbol. To access a variable. So use a dollar symbol to access the value okay, to access the value of a variable, Suppose, let's say here name is a variable. I want to know what is the name I have given inside the variable called name. I want to know the value what I have given for the variable called name. So how I am going to access a variable? Dollar and then variable name. Dollar and then variable name. So this is how we are going to access the variables by using a dollar symbol. So if we want to access a value for a variable, what we will use? We will use a dollar and then a variable name. Dollar variable name. So I'll just keep it as a variable name. Dollar variable name. And make sure this particular variable must be declared in the script. If we haven't declared the variable, we cannot access that particular variable using dollar symbol. Right. So now let us take a simple example here. Let's say I want to create a variable. Using terminal. For that, I will use a command called export. Export, let's say quotes. And here quotes equals to shell scripting. So here, what is a variable? Variable is quotes. What is the value assigned to the variable? Shell scripting. Export course. This is the variable name and this is the variable value. Now hit enter. That's it. Now I want to access the value that is assigned to this variable. How we are going to access dollar symbol? Dollar. What is the variable name? Exactly, you have to give it. It is a case sensitive. Dollar quotes. Now, if you give dollar quotes, will it give the output? No. I want to print the output. So if you want to print the output, we have to give echo. So echo space dollar quotes. Now, if you hit enter, whatever value that we have assigned to this variable, it will be printed. You see that? You can see shell scripting. Now, let's say I'll use export once again. Trainer. I'll give it as a trainer. I'll give it my name. Now hit enter. So what I have done, I have assigned a variable to this value. Okay, for this value, I have assigned a variable. Now I want to access the variable. So how will you access the variable? Dollar variable name. What is the variable name? Trainer. Variable name is trainer. And will I get the output? No. If you want to see the output, we need to give echo. Echo means to print the value. Value of what? Of this variable. How this value is going to come? Because we have already assigned a value to this variable. Hit enter. You can see Kastro, Kiran. So like this, you can access the variables by using export command. And here we have different types of variables. This is only one type, which is a basic type. Let us see what are the different types of variables that we have. Can we give, before that, can we give multiple lines here itself? Yes, we can give. Let's say export course equals to DevOps training. Export course equals to DevOps training. And I will give it as in different way. Let's say role I want to give. Yes, role equals to DevOps trainer, or trainer name equals to Kastro. I'll give it in this way. Hit enter. Now I want to access the variable value. How will we access? Echo dollar course. You can see DevOps trainer. I want to see the trainer name, the value assigned to this variable. Echo dollar trainer name. You can see the value. So you can write multiple lines also. Here. Right. So now let us understand the types of variables. Let us understand the types of variables. Generally, we have two types of variables. Two types of variables. The first one is called as system variables. System variables. System variables are also called as environment variables. Environment variables. System variables are environment variables. Environment variables. And the second one is called as user defined variables. User defined variables. System variables and user defined variables. Now, what is meant by a system variable? What is meant by a system variable? System variable are something which are predefined by the system itself. System means by the machine itself. What is my machine? A server. EC2 instance is my machine. EC2 instance is my machine. My laptop is my system. So system variables are something which are predefined by the system. Which are predefined by the system. The variables which are already defined and used by our system, already defined and used by our system, are called as system variables. Are called as system variables. That's the proper definition of system variables. What are some examples of system variables? Examples. Let's say I want to access the default values. I want to access the default values. Let's say we have $user. This is one of the system variables. Let's say $home. I want to see the home. I want to see the home path. And then $path. These are some of the predefined variables which are designed by the system. Which are designed by the system itself. Let us see that. Echo $home. Echo $home. Currently, have I defined a value for this home variable? No. Have I defined a value for this home variable? No. But can I access the value for home variable? Yes. How? Because these are system defined variables. System defined variables. System defined variables. Click enter. You see /home/EC2 user. How this value is coming? Because by default, the server will assign a value to the variables. That is why we are calling them as system variables, which are predefined by the system. Echo $path. Echo $path. You can see the path. You can see the path. Echo $user. Echo $user. You can see current type of user, EC2-user. If you do who am I, you can see the same user also. You can see the same user also. So these are some of the system defined variables. System defined variables. Let's say I want to see all the system variables. I want to see all the system variables. To see all the system variables. System variables. That means the predefined variables. The command is env. Env. Just type env here. Env. Hit enter. You can see all the system defined variables that are available. All the system defined variables. These are all the system defined variables. You can see $shell, $hist control, and then $quotes. These are something which I have defined some time back by using a export command. So like this, we can access all the system variables or environment variables. This is the first type of variable. And the second type is called as user defined variables. User defined variables. What are they? These are created by user. These are created by user based on the requirement. In real time, are we going to work with system variables? No. We will define our own variables and we will define our own value to a variable. So that's why we call them as a user defined variables. User defined variables. So user defined variables are created by the user based upon the requirement. Based upon the requirement. Let's say I want to create one variable. Let's say I want to go with course. Course equals to let's say shell scripting. This is my shell scripting in 5 hours. Something like this. Shell scripting in 5 hours. So I have defined a variable, and for this variable, I am defining a value. Now you see, I'm not using export command here. I'm not using export command. Without using export command, can we still assign a value to a variable? Yes, we can do that. You can see echo course. But if I do this, will I be able to access the variable value? No. In order to access the value assigned to a variable, we have to use a dollar symbol, hit enter. You see, shell scripting in 5 arts. Let's say I'll give some more name. Let's say name equals to, I'll give my name, Kastro Kiran V. Now hit enter. Now I want to know the value assigned to this variable. How will we access? Echo dollar and then a variable name, hit enter. You can see that. So this is how we can define our own variables. So these variables are called as user defined variables. And here there is an important concept to work with variables concept here. There is an important thing that we need to remember in variables concept. So the first one is called as temporary variables. There are two types of variables, temporary variables and permanent variables. So what is meant by a temporary variable and what is meant by a permanent variable? Temporary variables are created using export command. Firstly, we have created a variable by using export command. And whenever you create a variable by using export command, then those variables are called as temporary variables. Why I am calling them as temporary variables? Suppose, let's say, I will close this terminal. I'll disconnect from my instance, and then I will reconnect to the instance. Will the variable value be available after terminating or after closing the command? They will not be available. So that is the problem with temporary variables. So temporary variables cannot be accessed. These variables cannot be accessed. Once the terminal closes. Okay, their values will be lost. The assigned values to the variable will be lost. That is the problem with temporary variables. Now, how I want to make them permanent? That means even if I lose a connection to the terminal, let's say I'll close the terminal and I'll reconnect to the instance. Will the variable value be still available? Yes. Those kind of variables are called as permanent variables. So even if I lose the connection to the terminal, the values assigned to a variable will still be available. Such kind of variables are called as permanent variables. Now the question is how to make a variable as a permanent. How to make a variable as a permanent variable. So for this, we need to work with a file. That file is called as .bash rc. So in this file, we have to define the variables. Then our variable will be permanent. Let's say how to see the variables available in the .bash rc file. How to see the variables available in the .bash rc file. How to see the variables available in the .bash rc file. For this, we have a command called cat command. In Linux, if you want to see the content inside a file, we have a command called cat command. Cat space -m and then file name. Cat space -n file name, that is a .bash rc. Let us see that. Cat space -n .bash rc. You can see all the variables that we have assigned. You can see The export variable, by using export, I have assigned some variables and some values to the variable. Can you see that? Yes. So these are the variables that are available in the .bash RC file. .bash RC file. You can see this. You can see all these things here. You can see all these things here. Now I want to assign a variable permanently. I want to assign a variable permanently. How will we do that? We need to go inside the .bash RC file. We need to go inside the .bash RC file. So I will use a vi command to go inside a file. Vi space .bash RC. .bash RC. Hit enter. Hit enter. Now what we have to do? We need to add variables at the end. Come down. Come down. Now we'll talk about unset command in some time. Come down. Go to the insert mode. Hit enter. Now I want to assign a variable which is a permanent variable. So I will use export course equals to, let's say I'll go with shell scripting by Kastro. I'll give this. I will delete these ones, the previous ones which I have already assigned. I'll delete this. They are not required. So export course equals to shell scripting by Kastro. Now come out of the file. Press escape :WQ. Now we have made some changes in the file. So we need to save those changes. So in order to save the changes, the command is source space .bash RC. Only if you execute this command, then only whatever the variables that you have assigned inside this file, those variables will be saved permanently. Right, I have applied the changes. Now I want to see the value for a variable. Now echo course, you can see shell scripting in 5 hours. But have I assigned a different value? Yes. So echo space $, I have given capital letters, $, you can see SS by Kastro. Is it the same thing that I have assigned inside .bash RC file? Yes. VI, let us cross verify. VI.bash RC. You can see export course equals to SS by Kastro. Are we able to see the same thing here also? SS by Kastro. Now how this is coming? Because this variable I have assigned not inside the .bash RC file. That is why we are seeing this one. And if you see here, I have given small letters. But inside the .bash RC file, I have given all capital letters. So it is a case sensitive. Whatever capital letters, small letters you have used, in the same way, we have to give that. Then only we will see the value assigned to a variable. Now, I don't want a value that is assigned to a variable. I want to remove a variable. So to remove a variable, we have a command which is called as unset. Unset space variable name. Whatever a variable name you have given, unset that one. So can you unset that? Yes. Unset space variable name. What is my variable name? Course is my variable name. Hit enter. Now if I do echo $quotes, will I be able to see the output? No. You can see I am not seeing the output here. Earlier when I was doing $quotes, I am seeing the output. But now when I am doing this, am I seeing the output? No. Why? Because I have removed the value that is assigned to a variable. So that is why we are unable to see the output. What about in .bash RC file? Will it be removed? Let's verify. vi.bash RC. Hit enter. You can see inside here, the value is still available. But when I'm executing the command, echo $quotes, will I be able to access the value that is assigned to this variable? No. Why? Because I have removed the value assigned to a variable. So this is how you can remove a variable. Unset command. By using unset command, we can remove a variable. Now there are important points to remember before assigning a value to a variable. 3 important points are there. The first one, variables cannot start with digit. with a digit. Let's say, for example, let's say 1, 2, 3 Castro. I cannot give in this way. It is not possible. Let's say 6, 1, 7, 6, 1, 1, something like this, some number, and then Kiran. No, variables cannot start with digits. Cannot start with digits. Either single digit or double digit. It should not start with digits, firstly. Second condition is it cannot, variables cannot start with or cannot contain three special characters. Okay, cannot contain special characters. What special characters? Three important special characters are there. Cannot contain three special characters. What are they? The first one is hyphen symbol. The first one is a hyphen symbol. The second one is at the rate symbol, and the third one is hashtag symbol. Variables should not contain these three special characters. For example, let's say Castro hyphen. It will work? No, we cannot assign a value to that variable. Let's say Kiran hyphen Kiran at the rate. Will the variable be assigned? No. Let's say trainer slash hashtag mark. Will the variable be assigned? No. So they should not contain, variables should not contain these three special characters, neither at the beginning, neither at the end, nor at the center. Variables should not, these three special characters should not be available anywhere when you are assigning a variable. That's the third one. That's the second one. Now the third condition is, it's not a condition, but typically it is generally followed. So use uppercase letters. Use uppercase for environment variables. When you are defining a system variables, then it is always suggested to use uppercase for environment variables. Uppercase for environment variables, and lowercase for user defined variables. Okay, uppercase for environment variables and lowercase for user defined variables. Is it mandatory to follow? It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory, but it is not mandatory. If you remember, I have worked with both. One, I have given the small letters, and in another way, I have given all capital letters also. Both you can work, but this condition is generally followed. If you don't follow also, that is not a problem. But mostly in the real-time scenarios, we'll follow this default conditions. Okay, this is about a variable concept. Now, let us talk about the second concept, which is called as operators. So, what is an operator? Operator is used to perform any task execution. Operator is used to perform any task execution. Let us practically understand how we can work with the operators. But before that, we have different types of operators. So the first one, types of operators. The first one is called as arithmetic operators. So here, what is meant by arithmetic? Arithmetic means the calculations. So this is used to perform mathematical operations. What does it mean by mathematical operations? Let's say I want to add two numbers. I want to subtract two numbers. I want to multiply two numbers. That's called as mathematical operations. So mathematical operations can be performed by using arithmetic operators. So what are some of the commonly used arithmetic operators? We have plus for addition, minus for subtraction, star for multiplication, by symbol, which is to divide, percentage, which is also called as modulus. So these are the arithmetic operators. To perform mathematical operations using a shell file. So what is the syntax to perform the arithmetic operators? The syntax to perform arithmetic operators is, if you want to access the value assigned to a variable, we will use a dollar symbol. And here, arithmetic operators, we are going to keep we are going to keep inside double quotes, inside double braces. So let's say I'll give it as an expression. I'll give it as an expression. Let's say I'll give it in this way. What is an expression? Let's say plus is an expression, minus is an expression, star is an expression. So like this, we can work with operators, which is specifically arithmetic operators. Let us practically see this. Let us practically see this. Let's say I want to add two numbers. I want to add two numbers. So how will we write a shell file for this? How will we write a shell file for this? Let's say the numbers are 100 and 300, 100 and 300. I want to add these two numbers. I want to add these two numbers. So how will we do that? Dollar, dollar, and then expression. What is the expression? Plus symbol, plus symbol. And what I want to do the addition, what numbers I want to do the addition, give that value 100 plus 100 plus the other value, which is 200. Give the value. And here, this is the expression. This is the expression. This is the expression. Now I want to print the output of this value. I want to print the output of this value. What is the command to print the output? Echo. Echo. When you execute this, what should happen? What should happen? We should be able to see the output as 400. So output, we should be able to see it as 400. Let us do that practically. Let us do that practically. Let me clear the screen. Echo, echo, dollar, dollar, and I will give the expression. What is the expression? I want to add two numbers, 100, 100 plus 200, 100 plus 200, close it. 100 plus 200, close it. Now hit enter. You can see I'm getting the output. I'm getting the output. Similarly, echo, echo, dollar, dollar. I'll give it as 10 minus 20. 10 minus 20. 10 minus 20. Close it. Close it. Hit enter. You can see minus 10. Minus 10. You can see in the first case, I have given the space here. In the second case, I have not given the space. But still, am I getting the output or not? Yes, we can get the output. Can we do one more mathematical operators? Yes. Echo, dollar, echo, dollar. 10 into 10. 10 multiplied by 10. 10 multiplied by 10. Hit enter. You can see the output. You can see the output. So like this, we can work with mathematical operations. Mathematical operations. But here, what I am doing, I am directly executing it here. I am not writing a shell file. I am not writing a shell file. Now let's say I will write a shell file. I will write a shell file to add these two numbers. To add these two numbers. Let's say vi addition.sh. Some file name I am creating. Addition.sh. Hit enter. Hit enter. Now any shell file should start with a shebang. That is a hashtag factorial symbol /bin/bash /bin/bash. Right. Now I want to give the values. I want to give the values. Let's say I want to add two numbers. I want to add two numbers. The numbers are 500 and 600. I want to add two numbers, 500 and 600. Let's say I'll give it adding two numbers. Adding two numbers. The shell script file belongs to adding two numbers. Adding two numbers. Right. So here, what I want to add, I want to add two numbers. What are those two numbers? What are those two numbers? Let's say 500 and 600. Now 500 I'll give, 600 I'll give. If I give dollar expression, will I get the output? No. Why? Because these are values. I have to assign these values to a variable, right? So let's say I'll give it as a number one equals to 500. Number two equals to 600. Now what I have done, I have assigned a variable, and for that variable, I have assigned a value. I have defined a variable, and for that variable, I have defined a value. So variable, value. Now I want to print the output expression. So I want to do sum, right? So sum equals to. So how we can do with the expressions? So dollar, and then open the braces. Which variables I want to add? Num1, that is number one plus num2. Make sure whatever the values, whatever the variable names that we have given, same number we have, same variable name we have to give it here. If you give a different number, what will happen? If you give a different number, different variable, what will happen? It will not print. Why it will not print? We have not assigned that variable. Let's say instead of num2, I'll give it as a number2. Have I assigned a value for this variable? No. Value for this variable? No. So we have to give exactly the variable, whatever we have given it. Let's say I want to see the output. Echo the result is. What I want to print? I want to print the value of this one. So I'll give it as a $sum. What it will do? Whatever value that it is going to get it here, and it will be printed for this value. That is why I'm giving it as a $sum, so that I'll get the output. Right? Keep it inside the quotations. So first, I am assigning a variable, and for that variable, I am assigning a value. Second, I have defined a variable. For that variable, I have assigned a value. Then I am adding the both variables by using a sum. And here, what is the expression? Plus is the expression. Arithmetic things should be given by using a dollar symbol with 2 open braces and 2 closed braces at the end. And then I want to print the output. Instead of directly printing the output, I want to see the result is the value. When I add these two variables, I should see the output here, right? Let me press escape :WQ. Now I want to execute a shell file. So we have seen in the last video how to execute a shell file. There are different ways. So I'll follow one of the ways. sh space file name. You can see the result is 1100. Cat, let's see the content inside the file. Now what is the output I'm getting? The result is this value. How this value is coming? By adding these two variables. How the numbers are assigned to the variables? Here. So this is how we can work with variables concept by using arithmetic operators. Right. Now let's say I will add one more script. So here what I am doing, I'm adding the values, but these values are fixed values or not? Yes, these values are fixed. Now I want to change the values. What I have to do? Again, I have to go inside the addition.sh file and I have to change these values. Now let's say I want to take the input of number 1 and the input of number 2 from the user. User has to give these values, and whatever user is giving the values, it should print the result. Whatever user is giving the values, it should print the result. Let's say I'll write one more shell file for this. So here what I am doing, I'm adding the two values, but these two values are fixed values. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the values which are given by the user, and whatever values that are given by the user, I will print those final value. I'll print the final value. Let us see how to do that. vi, let's say I'll go with add.sh, a different file name. And here what I'll do, go to the insert mode, hashtag, that is a shabang, we have to give shabang /bin/bash. Right. So here I want to print, let's say echo enter num1. So user will enter number 1, and system has to understand, right? So read. System has to understand. So read num1, and then echo enter num2, and then the system has to read that value. So read command I'm using, read num2. Let's say I'll give one more number. Let's say echo enter num3, and then system has to read that value. So num3, read num3, and then I want to print the output. Echo the sum is. So here we need to keep it in quotations. So these are called as strings. So echo the sum is dollar of expression we have to write. What are the expression? num1 plus num2 plus num3. So what it will do, it will print all the values whatever user is giving, and then it will give us the output. So here you see, here I have given num1. The same value I am giving it here also. Is it mandatory? It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory. Here you can give any value. Here you can give any value. But whatever the value that you are giving here, or whatever the names that you are giving here, the same names you should give it here also. There is no rule that whatever name you are giving it here, you need not give it here. You can give other also. You can give any other also. But whatever value you are giving for read command, whatever the name that you are giving for read command, the same values you have to give it here. Then only the system will print the output. Right. Let me press escape :WQ. Now cat space add dot sh. Now how many numbers it will take from the user input? 3 numbers. 3 numbers. Let me execute the shell file echo sh add dot sh. Now you see enter num1. I will enter 10. And now it is asking me to enter num2 20. Hit enter. It is asking for num3 also. Hit 30. Now what it will do? It will print the result. The sum is. But you see here line 8. In line 8 there is an unexpected. What is line 8? Line 1, line 2, line 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The sum is. Here if you observe, I have started with quotations. Have I ended with quotation? Have I ended this thing with quotation? No. So now what we have to do? We have to edit that file. So these are very, very important when you are writing a shell file, right? So here I'll close this value. I'll close this with double quotes. So close it. I have closed it. Now press escape :WQ. sh space file name add dot sh. Hit enter. It is asking me to enter the number 1. I have entered. User is entering the values. So these are dynamic values. User can give any value. So hit enter. Now you see the sum is 60. Can I execute one more time? Yes, you execute multiple times. Let's say I'll give it as 100, 200, 200, 300. It is giving me the output. Writing the shell file is a one-time task. Executing the shell file can be done as many times as requirement is possible. It depends upon your requirement. If your requirement is 100 times, you execute it 100 times. Nothing will be an issue. But how many times we are writing a shell file? Only one time. So this is one of the examples for arithmetic operators. Let us see one more example for this one. Let's say I want to perform multiple mathematical operations. How we will do that? Let's say vi multiple dot sh. Multiple operations I am doing, right? So multiple dot sh. And then here what I'll do is I will write the values. Let's say first I'll start with the shebang. Shebang /bin/bash. Right. So here what I'll do is echo enter two numbers. So user will enter two numbers. The two numbers. Now once user enters two numbers, it has to read those numbers, right? So read number 1, num1, and then read num2. So it will read. System will read both values, both those things. Now system has to perform multiple arithmetic operations. So let's say I'll give it as a multiple operations. Remember, this is a commented line. So this line will not be printed. If you give hashtag at the end, at the beginning of a line, what does it mean? It's a commented line. That means it will not print this. It is just for my understanding. I'm writing it here. Okay, it is just for your understanding. Now let's say I want to do sum first. Sum equals to. I want to do addition. So dollar, which values it has to print? Num1 plus num2. Num1 plus num2. And I want to do difference, that is subtraction. So difference equals to dollar num1 minus num2. Now let's say I want to do multiplication. So I'll give it as a product equals to which two numbers I have to multiply? Num1 star num2. Star represents Star represents product. Star represents product. Right. Let me give it one more here. I forgot. Yeah. So this is done. Now let's say I want to do with division also. I want to do the division also. Division equals to, and then num1. Which two numbers I want to divide? Num1 divided by symbol is this one. And then num2. And then num2. Now here, what I'll do, I'll close it. So multiple mathematical operations I'm performing here in the same shell file. Now I want to get the output. So display results. So how it will display the results? I want to customize that. Display results. I want to display it in this way. Echo, and then sum is. Which value I want to print it here? I want to print this value. So dollar sum. So what it will do? Sum is, it will print the value, whatever it is getting it from here. How this value will come? From these two numbers, from these two variables. How the numbers are given, and user is entering the variables. User is entering the inputs. And then system is going to read those inputs, and then it will perform all the mathematical operations, and then it will display as the results. Right. This is one. Echo. And then let's say the second one is a difference is. Which value I want to print it as output? Dollar, whatever value we have given it here, that one we have to give. Echo diff, close it. And then echo product is. Which value I want to print it? Product. Here only the product is happening, right? So dollar product, close it. That's done. Next, echo division is dollar division. That's it. So this is how we can write multiple mathematical operations in a single shell file. Right. Let me come out of this file. Escape colon WQ. Now let me execute this file. Shell sh space file name. Hit enter. Now you see it is asking me to enter two numbers. What are they? Let's say I want to give 10 and I want to give 20. Two numbers, right? So hit enter and then hit enter. Now you see it is asking me one more unexpected thing. So what is that? Here it is looking for matching. So somewhere I have made a mistake. So vi multiple dot sh. So if you see here, so here where I have made the mistake, that is important to understand. But before this, let us verify what is the problem here. We'll read the output. So multiple dot sh, line 8, cat space multiple dot sh. What is my line 8? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 7, 8. What I have done? You can see I have not given double quotations here. This is very important. So vi multiple dot sh. So here what I'll do, I'll give double quotations. I have to give double quotations. So this is very, very important when you are working. Right. Press escape colon WQ. Now execute the shell file. Two numbers, right? So first number, hit enter. Second number, hit enter. Now you see sum of two numbers is 30. Difference is 10 minus 20, that is minus 10. Product is 10 times 20, that is 200. Division is 0. So like this, we are going to get the values. Now you might have a question here. So here, if you see 10 by 20 is 0.5. But why it is printing 0? It is printing 0 only, but it is not printing 0.5. So here we will talk about this one in some time. We will talk about this. Here it is not printing a point. That is, it is not printing the values that are there in points 0.5, 0.9, 1.2, 1.3. Like this, it is not printing. So we will see that in some time. So this is how we can work with arithmetic operations. So I hope you are understanding what is meant by arithmetic operators and how to work with arithmetic operators. Now, the second type of operators is relational operators. Relational operators. Relational operators are also called as comparison operators. Relational operators are also called as comparison operators. Let me write that. Comparison. I want to compare two values here. I want to compare two values here. Such kind of thing we are going to do by using relational operators. So relational operators are used to perform or to compare, let's say, to compare two values. To compare two values. So it is used to compare values in conditional statements. It is used to compare values in conditional statements. Conditional statements. Now, what does it mean by comparison? Let's say I want to know whether 10 is greater than 20 or not. Whether 10 is greater than 20 or not. 5 is less than 10 or not. That's called as a comparison operators or relational operators. Now, before working with comparison operators, we have a couple of comparison operators. We have a couple of comparison operators examples. Let's say operators, I'll give operators, comparison operators examples. Comparison operators examples. So here also I'll give, instead of example, I'll give it as a operators, right? So here we have different types of comparison operators. The first one is equal to. So this is generally defined as equals to, like this, two equals to symbols. So this is the first one, and then this is the second one. This is one way. Otherwise, we can also give EQ. That means equals to. Let's say not equal to. If you want to mention this, what we have to do, factorial symbol and then equals to symbol. This is called a not equals to. And then greater than symbol. So greater than, if you want to perform greater than 10 greater than 10, 10 greater than 20 or not, that I have to know. So either you have to give greater than symbol or GT. GT represents a greater than. Now similarly, I want to know greater than or equal. So what is the mathematical operations for this? What is the mathematical character for this? Or relational comparison operator for this? For this, we have greater than or equals to, right? Greater than or equals to symbol, or we can also simply give it as a GE. G represents greater, E represents equal. Greater than or equals to. Similarly, less than. For less than, what we have to do? Less than symbol we have to give. Less than symbol. Or you can also give LT, less than. Similarly, less than or equals to. Let me write it here. Less than or equals to. So if you want to work with less than or equals to, what is the symbol? Less than or equals to, or you can also give it as LE. So this is how we have different comparison operators. Let us do that. Let us see practically how we can work with comparison operators. Let me clear the screen. I'll create a file. vi. Let's say comparison, right? So comparison.sh. Comparison.sh. Right. Now I want to compare two numbers. Let's say any shell file will start with shebang /bin/bash. Right. Now here I want to compare two numbers. By using this shell file, I want to compare two numbers. Echo, enter two numbers. User will enter two numbers here. Echo, enter two numbers. Now, whatever user is entering the numbers, it has to read, right? So read num1, read num2. System will read those values. Now, here we have to write the condition. So it is used to compare. Comparison operators or relational operators, it is used to compare values in conditional statements. So here we will use if elif conditions. If elif else conditions. Let us see how we can work with that one. This one, right? So now, when you are working with relational operators or comparison operators, what is the syntax? Let me write the syntax here, syntax. So the syntax goes in this way. If, and then we have to mention the condition. We have to mention the condition. So whatever condition you want, you can mention that condition. If condition, I'll give. If condition, I'll give. And then symbol. I mean, then we have to write. And here we have to write the statements. The condition statements we have to write. Statements. And then elif, condition 2, elif, condition 2. Then write the statements. Else, we have one more thing. Else. Condition 3. And then statements. And then close the loop. Fi is to close it. Fi is used to close it. Right. So what does it mean? Here, if condition satisfies, then print this one. Else, if condition is not satisfying, then check for second condition. If second condition is satisfying, then print this one. Else, if these two conditions are not satisfying, then check for a third condition. Then print this one. And then close it. Let us see practically so that you will understand it more better. Now, I am reading the number 1 and number 2. Let's say I'll write in this way. If number 1, $num1 equals to. So what is the symbol for that? Equals to $num2. If $num1 equals to $num2, then it has to print one condition. Then write the condition. What it has to print? Echo $num1 is equal to $num2. It will print this condition. Suppose if it is not equal, then what we have to do? We have to write elif. Else, if that is not satisfied, then go and check for second condition. What is my second condition? Condition? Let's say $num1 is greater than. So I'll use greater than symbol. If $num1 is greater than num2, if $num1 is greater than num2, then what it has to do? It has to print, right? It has to print something. So then write the condition. Echo $num1 is greater than which one? num2. It has to print this one. So like this, we can write multiple conditions. Else, if these two conditions are not satisfied, so else write the condition. What is the condition? Echo. I don't want any condition to check. If these two conditions are not satisfied, then it has to directly print a message. Suppose, let's say, if number 1 is not equals to number 2, then it will go and check this condition. It will check whether if number 1 is greater than number 2. If number 2 is not greater than number 2, if number 1 is not greater than number 2, then what it will do? It must be less than. So else echo $num1 is less than $num2. It will directly print this one. But we have to close it. So how will you close it? Fi. If you mention Fi, that means it will no longer check any other conditions. Let us see that. Press escape, :WQ. Hit enter. That's it. Now sh, execute the file. Enter 2 numbers. It is entering. So let me enter 2 numbers. 10 and then 15. 2 numbers I am entering here. Now you see, it is directly printing the condition. So if I do cat space comparison.sh, what it will check? First, it has checked the 2 numbers. We have given the 2 numbers. Now what it has done? First, it has checked whether number 1 is equals to number 2. That is 10 equals to 15. No. So that means it has not printed this one. Then what it has done? It has checked the second condition. What is the second condition? 10 is greater than 15 or not? number 1 is greater than 15 or not? Yes. Since it is 15, what it is doing? It is printing number 1. What is number 1? 10. 10 is greater than number 2. What is number 2? I have given 15. So it is printing this output. Has it checked this output? No. Why? Here the condition is satisfied. Since the condition is satisfied, will it go for the checking of the next condition? It won't, because condition is satisfied here itself. Right. So this is about the comparison operators concept. The second type, the third type is conditional statements. Conditional statements. First one is variables. First concept is variables. Second concept is operators. Second concept is operators. Now, in operators, we have seen arithmetic operators, comparison operators. Arithmetic operators, comparison operators. Now, the third concept is statements or conditional statements. Conditional statements. Here is also something which we have seen it here. It's the same process only. So what are conditional statements? These are used to execute the commands, based on conditions. So here I have given a conditions, right? Same structure will follow here also. Syntax. Okay. So common conditions that we give are based on 3. One is if, elif, else, and close the if block. How will you close a block, if block? By using a F5. So let us write one shell file to check the strength of a password. By using conditional statements. Right. So suppose I'll write a shell file which is a password.sh. Go inside the file and then go to the insert mode. Now any shell file will start with shebang space /bin/bash. Now here what I want to do, I want to check the password length. If based on the password length, I want to tell to the user whether the password is a strong password, moderate password, or a weak password. I want to do that. Now for that, we need to have some conditions, right? Let's say I want to have some conditions. The password is weak if it is less than 8 characters. I'm giving some conditions here. And then the password is moderate. If the characters are in between 8 to 12 characters. If the characters are between 8 to 12, the password is strong. If it is greater than 12 characters. These are my conditions. See, here I'm not writing a shell file. I am just writing the conditions here. So this is for your understanding. We have not written a shell file. So I want to check the password length. So 3 conditions I am giving. First condition is if it is less than 8 characters, I want to print weak. If it is in between 8 to 12 characters, I want to print moderate. If it is greater than 12 characters, I want to print strong. This is my condition to write a shell file. Now let's write the shell file. Right. So first echo enter your password. So user will enter the password. Once user enters the password, system has to read, right? So read password. Whatever password that is entered by the user, it will read it. And then it has to check the first thing. What it has to do? It has to check the length. Only after checking the length, then it will go and check the conditions. So how the shell file will understand the length of the password? You have given some 10 characters. How it will understand? So for that, we will use a length equals to $password. Whatever user is entering the value here, that password length will be checked by using a length. The password length will be checked by using a length. But here, directly we cannot give. So go with flower braces in between, okay, in the beginning and also in the end, and also make sure to give it as a hashtag symbol. This is the syntax, right? So now I will write the conditions. If $length, Now I don't use the symbols. I'll use the characters. If $length is less than 8, what I want to print? Then Then I want to print a condition. So what is that? Echo your password is weak. Your password is weak. I want to print this. Your password is weak. Why? Because it is less than 8 characters. If you want, you can also write in this way. So let's say your password is weak, less than 8 characters. Less than 8 characters. I'm just printing this one. Suppose I want to check one more condition. So if or elif I have to write, right? Elif dollar length. Elif dollar length. I want to have in between. If the characters are in between 8 to 12, 8 to 12, then I want to print it as a moderate. But how to write that condition? If dollar length is greater than 8, and symbols, and it has to check two conditions, right? Whether it is greater than 8 and less than 12, then it will know it is a moderate password. So greater than 8 and then dollar length is less than or equals to 12. If it is less than or equals to 12, what it has to print? Then it has to print echo your password is moderate. Your password is moderate. That is between 8 to 12 characters. Between 8 to 12 characters. It will print this one. Otherwise, I want to print a default message. What is the default message? Else echo your password is strong. Your password is strong. That is more than 12 characters. It will print this. And then close the condition. That is if block you have to close. So F5. So press escape WQ. So cat space file. You can see. So what it will do first, it will prompt this message. When it prompts the message, user will enter the password and it will read the password. Once it reads the password, it will verify the length of the password. It will verify the length of the password. If length of the password is less than 8, then it will print this message. If length of the password is greater than 8 but less than 12, then it will print this message. If length of the password is nothing, if these two conditions are not satisfied, then it will print this. If these two conditions are not satisfying, that means your password is strong only, right? It is more than 12 characters. This will print that. Now, let me execute the shell file. sh password.sh. Now, let's say I'll execute this one, Kastro Kiran V. That's my password name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, I have given 12 characters exactly. Now, what output we are going to get it? I want you to pause the video and to analyze the conditions which we have given and see what is the output. Just guess the output before I hit enter. Right. So let me hit the enter. Hit enter. Now you see command not found. Something is missing here. We will see that anyway. We'll see that. But you see here, your password is strong. That is more than 12 characters. But how many characters I have given it here? Exactly 12 characters I have given. I will execute this file one more time. sh password.sh. I'll just give Kastro. Now I have only 6 characters. If the password is less than 8, what condition it should print? It should print your password is weak. Let us see that. Hit enter. You see, your password is weak. Why? Because it is less than 8 characters. Let's say I'll go with one more thing. Let's say sh space password.sh. I'll give it as a Kastro Kiran. Hit enter. You see, it is more than 12. That means your password is strong. But the question is, why this line 14 is showing an error? I have made one purposeful mistake here. I want you to verify that mistake and I want you to comment that mistake. What is the mistake that I have pointed out here? In line 14, you can clearly see line 14. So see what is line 14 and identify what is the mistake I have made it here. This is your assignment task for this particular thing. for this particular thing. So like this, we can write the conditional statements. Like this, we can write the conditional statements. Let us write one last conditional statement as an example. Let us write one last conditional statement as an example. Right. So here, what we will do is let us write a conditional statement for grade calculator, grade.sh, vi grade.sh. I want to calculate the grade. I want to calculate the student's grade. Let's say students will enter the marks. If I want to assign A grade, if the marks are in between 90 to 100. I want to assign B grade if the marks are in between 80 to 89. I want to assign C grade if the marks are in between 70 to 79. I want to assign D grade if the marks are in between 60 to 69. I want to assign F grade or E grade, anything. F represents fail, no, so I'll just give it as a fail. Or E grade, I want to assign E grade if it is below 60. I want to print this one. Your grade is A, your grade is B, your grade is C. Like that, I want to print. Let us see how we can work with that one. Right. So first, let me go to the insert mode and then shebang /bin/bash /bin/bash. Right. Now, echo enter your score. Now here, anyone should enter the values in between 0 to 100 only, because 100 is the maximum number and 0 is the least number. Echo 100 to 0 to 100. Right. User will enter that one. User will enter the score, and then system has to read it. So read score. Now we have to write the condition. If score is greater than or equals to 90, if greater than or equals to 90 and less than or equals to and or not greater than or equal and less than or equals to let's say I'll write a condition $score. Let me write that. Just a second. Yeah, $score less than or equals to 100, then it has to print a message. Then it has to print a message. What is a message? If any student is getting greater than 90 marks, that is in between 90 to 100, what is the grade? A grade. Echo your grade is A. Your grade is A. Otherwise, elif, it will go and check the second condition. What is the second condition? $score is greater than or equals to 80. That's my second condition. $score is greater than or equals to 80 and $score is less than 90. If it is less than 90, then what it should print? Then echo your grade is B. So when it will print grade B, if it is in between greater than 80 and less than 90, greater than or equals to 80 and less than 90. Right. That's my second one. Can I write more elif blocks? Yes, you can write them. We have more conditions now, so we can write more blocks or more elif blocks. So if elif $score greater than or equals to 70. If the score is greater than or equals to 70 and less than, that is a $score. Let me keep properly here. Yeah, $score less than LT, less than 80, then it has to print what? Echo your grade is C. Can I write another elif block? Yes, we have more conditions now, so we'll write that. If $score, let me write that. If $score is greater than or equals to 60, if $score is greater than or equals to 60, it will and $score score and dollar score is less than 70, is less than 70, then it has to print some message, no? Then echo your grade is D. Your grade is D. Otherwise, what default message it has to print? Else echo your grade is E. Your grade is E. And then close the if block. So F5. So what it will do? First, the user will enter any score between 0 to 100, and then it will read the score, and then it will check these conditions. If it is greater than 90 and less than 100, it will print this message. If it is greater than or equals to 80 and less than 90, it will print this message. If it is greater than or equals to 70 and less than 80, it will print this message. If it is greater than or equals to 60 and less than 70, it will print this message. Otherwise, it will print the final message. It will print the final message. Right. Let me press escape, WQ. SH grade.sh. Now, let's say I'll give the marks as 80, 81, 82, whatever it is. Enter that. Hit enter. Now you see your grade is a B. How that is coming? Cat space grade.sh. You can see my score is 81. 81 is in between greater than 80 and less than 90. So my grade is B. If score is between 80 and 89, what is my grade? B. Am I getting the same one or not? Am I getting the same one or not? Yes. So like this, we can write the conditions. We can write the conditional blocks. So this is about how we can work with conditional blocks. This is all about this particular video. The assignment questions are available in the notes, which is there in the GitHub repository. The GitHub repository link is provided in the description of this video. So we will meet in the next video with some other core concepts that are available in the Linux shell scripting. Thank you. See you in the next video.